Hey, good early morning from the Bittersweet dojo. So I sold off the eBay shop. I didn't sell the whole store. They didn't want the shoes. They didn't want any of the media or magazines. They just wanted the clothing. And really, the clothing is mostly what I needed to get out of. But I've been a seller on and off 24 years, according to eBay. Every time I call with a problem, they're like, "Oh, thank you for being with us for 24 years." And they say, "How can we help you?" And I say, "I need to do A and B, C." And they go, "No." I'm like, "Oh, thank you for your loyalty. None." But anyway, I don't want to go there. This is a negative. This is a positive. It saved my life in a lot of ways. It was always this kind of like side hustle before there were even side hustles. It was always I said after like personal stuff I went through my divorce a few years ago and a job situation after COVID where I PTSD'd out of a very white collar, very stressful job that I never should have been doing in the first place. It's just God didn't want me there. I shouldn't have been there. But you chase money and worry and stress, and you get rewarded with more of the stress and worry and not enough of the money anyway. So and then you just lose your health and you got nothing. So don't do what I did. And that's how I ended up back in reselling, and I was happy as a clam. And so I built up things quickly and I got into it. And I just want to thank some of the YouTubers, Matt and people who are still out there, Kaylee Lane. They give really good tips. You can learn a lot of stuff. I knew about reselling in general. I'm a natural seller, reseller, flipper, but the game changes all the time. And I wasn't specific to clothing. It's just what I had the most access to. And I knew some things from very early in the thrift days when everything was about vintage. Now it's clearly not. But little tips, like I got tips from Matt about how to save my back taking photos. That was hugely helpful, very beneficial, stuff like that. And just a lot of different. What people don't understand. I had friends who would say, "Hey, oh, he's selling dirty laundry," and I was like, "Yeah, call it what you want. I'm selling dirty laundry. Good for me." And I'm shopping at thrift stores, but they don't understand that there's a whole undercurrent to this. There's an industry, and I actually have a bit of a calling of finding things that are flippable. I don't know why my grandfather sold antiques. My uncle sold jewelry, and antique jewelry, and I've sold vintage clothes and contemporary clothes, and I've all kinds of different collectible type things. I'm not into collectibles. I'm into iconic weirdness. So I have like these 1950s and 60s race car magazines and collectible car magazines, and I have different kinds of CDs and a lot of classical stuff. And I had a lot of people who had given me some things because estates didn't get cleared out, so oddball like stuff that I sell for next to nothing because I told the people I just want to put it back into the universe, like the one that was the professor, the teaching professor. I sold out most of his CDs and books with his signatures and writings and scribblings in them, and that was in the listing, like, hey, this is this dude's story. He was a choral professor for years and years, and he taught a lot of kids to sing, and he's a big deal, and everybody loved him. When he passed away, they auctioned and liquidated off all his assets and house, but nobody did the personal stuff with his books and his, the playbills he collected and from ballets and symphonies and well, what's the word I'm thinking of that I can't think of? Oh my God. Anyway, so those collectibles all kind of like sold, and they're not valuable items. They're just cool items for people to have. And that's what I loved about eBay. That's what it used to be. Now it's a AI driven, everybody do the same, hey, it's a J. Crew, I can't even, I don't want to go, it's just like giving me bad memories. But yeah, but I was done with clothes. People have to understand also, clothes are labor intensive. You gotta source them, you gotta clean it up, you gotta check for defects. Me, I got a dog. If I do anything where he may have been, it's gonna get fur on it, so I have to do everything in a different place or keep it hermetically sealed. Then you gotta, photograph, sort of set it up and market it right, polybag, ship, do all these different things. This is a lot of layers to the linear picture of it's a distribution business. You buy things, you clean it up, you you prepare it for sale, you have to market it, you have to get it out there, you use a platform, whatever that is, the online platform, and you sell. Like I talked about in a video the other day, early on in eBay, the best thing about eBay was it was yard sales where people could take a credit card. That's what eBay did for me, or PayPal did before it was eBay, and the two of them cahooted. But that's what it was. It was a yard sale or garage sale where you could take credit cards and you could get people at your garage sale from a million miles away. That's how it started. Now they really want to be Amazon. They really want to be Temu. They want to sell. They want single sellers of millions of widgets, or the same stuff, reliable, boring, steady junk that they can collect ad revenue off of. That's really what they want. And the higher end, even better. But you see, the higher end, they charge more fees. And the reason they charge more fees is because it's not lucrative to them. You think it is. You think eBay Motors is. But no, they have to charge those guys a whole bunch of junk, just like every other advertiser or platform used to do to those types of retailers. It was always about the individual seller, the small guy, eBay, and it's not anymore, and that's a problem. But, these guys that... So where I am now, I'm down in South Texas, and there's so much clothes. All the ropa usada, all the pickings from Goodwill and Salvation Army all end up down here in these warehouses, and they get picked out really heavily by people who bring them to Mexico to sell, people who sell in the local vintage stores here. You got people from nonprofits who are just looking for clothes for their agencies and stuff. And there's college kids who are pulling stuff. There's vintage collectors. There's just people just doing whatever. And so it's fun if you're into the sourcing. It's crazy to get up on the Montana, and if you've ever seen it, I should post a picture, but imagine a football-sized stadium warehouse, and in different parts of it, there are just mountains, little like when like at the supermarket, if you come from a snowy area, and they plow the supermarket parking lot, and they make these big mounds, and for a little while, you got little mountains in the parking lot. It's like that, but of clothes, and people are climbing up on the clothes and pulling them and dragging them out and trying to find different things. There's another place that puts them on the ground, and you get there in the morning, and there's people all on the ground just making their piles. There's sort of a technique and etiquette to, you set up your own little place, and you put your stuff in there, and nobody messes with it. Usually they use like a sheet or a towel or a blanket, and then after you can just roll it up and carry it with that. That's just how that is. And then there's the Goodwill bins, where, these are the levels. I guess you should do these goofy videos and say, here are the different levels of things. I go, first, there's the Monton, there's by the pound, down in on the border. And then you've got your by the pound Goodwills and those sort of stores. Then you've got like your church thrifts or, parochial type thrift stores, real teeny weeny ones that are open 1 or 2 days a week. Then you've got actual thrift stores, your layers of the Savers and Goodwills and Salvation Army, which is bread and butter for most vintage resellers and pickers. You find way better stuff in the stores, already curated, less damaged. In the bins, you got to be really careful, because that's stuff that's come back from the stores over and over again, usually because it looks great, and then you look closely and you go, ew, there's a thing, and it was caught enough times that no one buys it, so it ends up coming back. So you have to be really careful at those lower level ones, because you're buying by the pound. And but I take some duds, I'll fill a bag of by the pound stuff, and a couple of them just don't make it into the cut. I go, ooh, I didn't see that, and some is like, I could show you, but I just sold all the stuff yesterday. But I had a Nicki Minaj denim jacket that I thought was really cool, even though I'm not a fan at all, but I said, this will resell easily. But it was missing the bottom button, and it was really inconsequential in a way, because the way the denim was kind of like distressed and all that. But I was like, the wording the cut and pay and the wording I will have to use to tell about this button is a lot. So I don't know. Everybody's got their own niche. Everybody's got their own way of doing things. People have different things they sell. People get good at things. Those guys came in and they're like, I got to learn about jackets, more about blazers. I don't know enough. I said, yeah, I was a grunge wear guy. Look, this is the shirt I stole. Last thing I stole from the inventory. It's a Def Leppard shirt. But I learned so much about blazers from YouTube, and about fabrics, and about the better wools and the better manufacturers. And then when I source different jackets, if there was something in my size, I'd get high on my own supply and put it on. And when you put on a $500 jacket, it's very different than putting on a $60 or $50 jacket from Macy's or, the JCPenney or whatever it is. You put that Canali on and you go, ooh, yes, I'm powerful now. I want to cause damage. What did Bill Burr say? Oh, I got all dressed up because He goes, I want to pollute a lake. Blame it on my secretary. That's how you feel. So you go, now I know why people pay for this kind of thing and get it done. It's a luxury. It really is. But it feels good. And, when you dress up a lot in dress clothes and suits and stuff, some people like it, some don't. I've never had shirts that fit, never had ties that fit. For my wedding, I got a custom-made shirt, and it was awesome. It was the first time I could breathe with a tie on. Like, literally, I still can't. I'm like this half the time anyway. So I don't know. It's bittersweet. I'm really happy for these guys. They were cool with everything. We moved everything in 98 degrees. So I got the storage unit cleaned out by other people, which was nice. Now I have to go back and go through my family stuff. But yeah, 24 years on and off eBay. It's just, I was using the analogy that it was like a parachute. I think I started saying this and didn't say it before, but it saved my life and it got me to land safely on my feet. But for 2 years, like I've been carrying the parachute around with me, like not even packed in a pack, just with the ropes and the chute loose. I'm just everywhere I go. It's like, geez, what am I doing? And it's eBay. Everywhere I look, it was all over the house. It's all over the storage unit. I was thinking about bringing it to my new music space, and I was like, no. The whole eBay vibe for me now is like the whole selling is woo and music is up, and I'm like, I don't want to bring the negative vibe into where the positive vibe is. And so, it's just I had to make a decision that something was I was losing money because I'm not motivated to make the business go. And people who don't know eBay or don't know selling online or whatever, that kind of stuff, they don't understand how much of a real business it is. You have to drive it forward every day. You have to constantly be listing. You have to constantly be selling. You have to constantly be doing customer service, fulfilling orders. You have to constantly be sourcing. You have to photo, list. I'm one person. And really, your store doesn't kick off sales wise until you get like 1,000 items. Try getting from 0 to 1,000 items with one person and doing it in an expedient amount of time. And that's one of the things that happened to me now is I started getting some defects because stuff was missing after a move and I didn't know. So I decided I had to redo the whole inventory. And in the course of doing that, I basically delisted everything, took everything out of the store, and I just putting them back in piece by piece based on what I have. But then I noticed a lot of them had really bad old pictures, missing measurement pictures. They were just old ads, listings. And I was like, so they're coming out. And then in the course of it, I ended up with like 200 items in my store. Nothing was selling again because I wasn't listing anything. So it's like basically I was just driving my own thing into the ground, not because you drive it into the ground, but it's a very dynamic business. It's a dynamic game. If you stop, you lose a lot more than you think. The momentum really matters. That's how algorithms work. That's how we work personally. So I found that, look, if I can't put 5, 6, 7 hours a day into this business properly, I can't get the rewards from it, but I'm in so deep that my fees are high. I've put money out for shipping. I rent a space. I have overhead. I have costs. So if I'm not putting in enough, I'm not going to even make my costs, and then I'm losing. And I'm saying to myself, I started to say to myself, look, I'm living like off retirement, and I'm losing money on my hustles. Why not just do my non-paying hobbies instead of the paying hobbies? I mean, the paying hustles that aren't paying. Instead of losing the money, stop losing the money and be a starving artist. And I was like, yeah, that seems to be a good idea. And I'm getting closer to Social Security. So like now might be the time to kind of slide into this kind of fake retirement. But but I'm young. I'm not that old. I mean, 60 something. I got a kid in college still, and I still should be doing something. I want to make money just so there's money to invest. I don't want to be giving up money that's in my retirement account. I want to be adding to it. So that's the other thing. But I can't give my time or heart to anybody else's business these days. I'm not that employable. I don't have a tolerance for putting up with like corporate-y bullshit anymore. I was a rocker who became a bureaucrat, and it was horrible. Horrible. And I was treated horribly, and I was chewed up and spit out, and I let it happen, and I hate them, and I hate myself for it, and I'll be dealing with that forever. But eBay saved my ass because it was the complete opposite thing. Finally, I could come to work looking like this, doing what I want, and all of my customers was cool as hell. I didn't have maybe one or two bad customers, and it was purely because they didn't know anything about buying online, and so they made doofy errors that ended up with me just kind of like, helping them and mansplaining them and either making them a better buyer or seller in the end, which of course eBay probably punished me for somehow. They usually do. So I wish my guys well. If you're down in the Rio Grande Valley area, in Edinburgh, which is it's beautiful down here, but they just opened a vintage clothing store, and they're right across the street from the university with 35,000 kids. So I think that's a good location. Not a bad move. And the store looked great. And now they get to pick and choose from all of my stock to what they like for vintage or not vintage. And the rest is going to go to their e-commerce thing, which they're building up. But these kids are 22, 24, 27. I'm 3 times that. It's not right. How the fuck did that happen? There goes that video. I'm not supposed to swear. Oh, fucking A. But yeah, 3 times my age, man. And I'm like, I'm 3 times their age. And, but hey, I helped unload the 98-degree freaking vehicles because they didn't bring a vehicle big enough because kids these days are still dumbasses. But these guys are hard workers, they're hustlers. And the kid's getting an accounting degree. I said, man, use your accounting degree right now to learn how to do basic business functions. Because if you get a barcode printer and a little basic program and use your Excel spreadsheets and do some media and do some like label merging, you can print out like barcode labels for all these things by a cheap ass scanner, just bing, 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 and you will be so much more productive. You won't believe it. I said, these are the things as a single person, I can barely do myself. They're they're friends, they're partners. I'm like, that's the greatest thing. You don't know how lucky you are to be partners. So stay friends, because I've never been able to get any help, And even my friends who would help, like, they're busy with their own lives, and they're like, I ain't selling dirty laundry. You. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want you to. It's not for everyone. You got to really hit bottom to really get into it, I think. I don't know. Or you got to be young and realize that it's a very lucrative hustle that no one could stop you from doing in any way you want to do it. There's a lot of avenues. I may still go back to selling. I still have shoes. I still have a lot of the media stuff. I'm just not going to deal with eBay for a while. I don't want to. And my store's like, so it's going to be so down in the dumps slow. But, if I want to do anything in the way of sales, like I said, it's in my blood, then I'll find something else to flip. Probably higher end stuff that's less labor intensive, easier to deal with or ship, because, I need to do more quality as opposed to quantity. And clothing, a lot of times it's just quantity. You just want to get as many sales as you can. I need to do stuff where I could just sell a couple of, it doesn't matter that much. But I don't really care right now. Right now I have an album to make. I have 4 months to do an album for Sound Sanctuary RGV. It's going to be awesome. I have no idea what to classify it as, or none of that matters anymore because it's not my job. AI can classify it wherever they want to once it's done. Put it wherever you want. Shopify, you pick the topic. I don't care. Wherever. That's what it is anymore. There's no marketing. You don't have to be, there's clever marketing here and there, but generally it's just meet the SEO keywords. And it's like, it bores the shit out of me. I'm into words, and that AI, it's not, I'm not blaming AI or anything. I'm just saying it's just genericizing how people do these processes. So you've got people in Bangladesh and Pakistan who are doing everyone's listings, and when they do the listings, they're not looking to sound like Madison Avenue. They're trying to meet all the keywords, and basically AI does it now for them. AI is filling all of that stuff in through a template and pulling the information from wherever it pulls it. It tends to be pretty dang accurate, and it's pretty good, but it's not going to have enticing words. It's not going to have things that make you go, ooh, want it. And that's one of the things I enjoy about business, is to be able to entice people, say something that's cool, or get them, to buy in on what the item's about. Why is this wool better than the other wool? It's fun to educate on that. It's fun. That's how you learn. You banter back and forth. There are a lot of buyers know more than sellers. A lot of buyers were resellers that I didn't even know. And I'm like, dang it, I know I should be selling this for more. Why am I wholesaling it? But we're all in our different place on the journey, is what I said. I'm like, look, I want to get rid of this. And that guy's like, I sell nothing but those. It's like, perfect, So it's a strange thing. It's a symbiotic thing. Unfortunately, the internet and the nature of business, the original platforms change. They morph, they get better, they get worse. Like, I think I would like to try actually selling on Depop a little bit now. Cheaper fees, cutting into eBay, but a more niche type of thing. Younger people, a lot of Y2K fashion, a lot of funky stuff. Sounds fun, but I don't want to do clothes. I'm done. This is just my mind playing games. I'm looking to do something a little more chill and a little less labor intensive, especially since it's pretty dang hot already down here. Yesterday we unloaded that storage unit, the 3 of us, and it was about 98 degrees and 60% humidity, which is rare to be that hot and that humid, but in the springish time, that tends to happen. And the air quality was crap on top because they're burning all the fields in South Texas and Mexico certain times of the year, particularly in the spring like this and in the early winter, because they get away with that now for clearing all the agricultural land, because they use everything a couple of times a year now. I think I just think they're rotating crops all the time. So instead of waiting they just fucking grow it, burn it, grow it, burn it, burn it, recondition the soil, grow it, burn it, whatever they do. That's how they do it. And then you get sorghum, and I don't know what we use sorghum. I know it's very healthy, I know, but I don't know what it's in or what it's for. Looks like poison sumac to me. So there, now I don't have a store or an eBay thing. I either find something to do to make some money, or I'm going to learn a lot more about useless information like sorghum. How do I get in? How do I get involved? I tried to get a job at SpaceX. I got a nay. I don't think the eBay part of my resume. Excuse me, I don't think the side hustler part of my resume enticed Elon. Excuse me. That's okay, because it probably isn't where I'm supposed to be. Anyway, cheers today. Celebrating. I am officially, I guess, retired for the moment. Until rent's due tomorrow. Peace out, everybody. Have a great day. Love you. If nobody told you they love you today, I do. And yeah, if you got an idea, you got to grind, you got to hustle. If you put in the hours, you'll succeed. That's all it really is. You put in the hours, you'll succeed. And if you don't, then you have to back off and do something else. I know this job. It's not that I can't do it. I mean, it's not that it's not lucrative. It's that I just can't do it anymore. I got to do something else. And, the same thing kind of happened. I always think about going back to cooking. But then you got to play the tape in your head. I got to remember how physical those jobs are. And at my age and at my, tolerance level for stress and bullshit, it can't be done. I either have to find a way to make my own money or work part-time for very little at something that's very chill and tolerable. And that's just the journey that I ended up on. Or better yet, I'm going to go out and busk and tour and play this music and make nothing, but at least have a good time doing it. Get back to where I was. Get back to where you once belonged. All right, everybody. Peace out. Love you.